Pre-order XCOM 2 War of the Chosen, coming to consoles and PC August 29, 2017. Affiliate link below. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel, and apparently, the social justice warriors, the regressive leftists, those liberals, those crazy liberals, if you listen to InfoWars or any kind of conservative media, have infested Blizzard. The company that you would never think would be infested by the social justice warrior types has been infested, saying here that they plan to launch global diversity and inclusion initiatives aimed to boost women and minority group employment figures. Saying that the byline here is that only 21% of Blizzard's workforce are women, 14% are underrepresented minority groups. Now, look, there's nothing wrong with having women and minority groups working there. Like, I don't think anyone would disagree with me on that one. But I do believe that a lot of people out there really love the idea of meritocracy, that your skill set, no matter what your gender or background or whatever is, that gets you in the door. And that's what these kind of initiatives aim to do away with. It's never the best person for the job, it's filling a quota. It almost feels like affirmative action, but under a new name. And a lot of people tend to view affirmative action as being racist. And I have friends who are both white, black, Latino, Asian, whatever, that look at affirmative action as being that way. I think it's something that is interesting in theory, but I don't think it was implemented very well. And as a result, the mindset of it being racist is one that's been allowed to permeate for decades. So it goes on to say here that in a bid to better represent women and underrepresented minority groups under its employ, Blizzard plans to launch a so-called global diversity and inclusion initiative that will establish internal councils and help enhance inclusiveness. I just want to say that I believe that we as a people, you know, those of us who are here watching this video and cover these kind of topics and everything else online, we know that when you hear about these councils, things never really go according to plan. They don't, because they put in like that one person in charge who will then fill it out with people of their ideological background, and then nothing ever really gets done. It's just a whole bunch of further infection from the left. And I know I sound probably like a right-wing radio host psychopath right now, like Rush Limbaugh, Alex Jones, whatever. Oh, just diversity means white genocide. No, of course not. Of course not. I want people to apply for jobs that they feel that they're eligible to get. I don't care where your background is. You should have the education and the experience that everyone else has to get. And yes, in some cases, that is not going to be as easy as you might think. That is not going to be as easy for one person as it is for another. There are things in life that determine our outcomes, right? We should all have the access to the same opportunities, but our outcomes are never guaranteed, and they never should be guaranteed. And those types that try to push for that, which is what this kind of does, it doesn't do anything to benefit anyone as a whole. It doesn't force them to fight for what they want and to get better. To quote Dark Souls players, to get good. It just kind of gives them something, and it never flies. You know, that's the one thing I'm going to teach my daughter is like, you need to be self-assured. You know, you don't want anything in life handed to you. Like, I'm not going to sit there and do that for her. I'm not going to sit there and give her every little thing in the world. If I can afford it, I'm going to have her work for it. You know, you want a bike? Go and earn the money. Collect cans. We'll crush them. We'll take them back. Mow yards. Do lawn work. Watch someone's cat. Feed their dogs while they're out of town. Learn to earn a living on your own. And then you will have a better understanding and respect for not only the money that you earn, but how you're able to take that initiative and that drive and put it towards something important down the road. These kind of internal councils that want to enhance inclusiveness do anything but actually enhance inclusiveness. They pick a group, they focus on that group, tell that group, you're underrepresented, you're underappreciated, we love you, and almost treat them as if they're different. And that's why they're getting the job. I don't know about you, but that's not really fucking inclusive now, is it? It's not everybody. It's one. Anyway, this is according to an email from Kotaku that also details that 21% of Blizzard's employees identify as women, and that only 14% are categorized as underrepresented minority groups. According to Kotaku, Blizzard president Mike Morhaime reckons these figures are consistent with the games industry as a whole. However, it nevertheless wants to improve its own representation. And this boils down to very similar aspects of what's going on with Silicon Valley. It's coding, programming, everything else. It's the same argument. The argument from Silicon Valley trickled itself down, very much like the horrific Reaganomics, and then soaked into gaming. And now everyone's like, oh no, we don't have this kind of stuff. And again, instead of relying on people to want the job themselves or catering particular topics or particular areas that are better suited for different people, they just want to up their diversity hires. And it's not to say that Blizzard is firing people in order to hire people. I have a friend of mine who works there, and you know, he was telling me that they're doing well, that they're expanding a lot. So it's the company does well enough to warrant the hiring, which is fine. And they just want to focus on this particular thing, which again, I'm like, well, not meritocracy. And every time I bring a subject like this up, I do go back to the story of Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, which does do this from a meritocracy standpoint, where they take resumes, they remove the name, so you don't know if it's a male or a female, or if it has a normal sounding American name or an ethnic name, and they put it together in a pile, and then that's how they judge based who to come in, right? That's what they do. And it works. It works. It's what they should do. The planned diversity drive will first focus on women in the workplace and thereafter cover minority groups. Ooh, once again, minorities getting the shaft to the lady folk. That's not going to cause a stir somewhere, right? That's not going to cause a stir at all. Because in this particular situation, it all boils down to the squeaky wheel gets the grease. It really, really does. All right. Like, you want to start breaking it down by underrepresented minority groups, then you might start getting into the whole oppression Olympics game. But if you first chalk it up to just women in general, you know, 51% of the overall global population, then it's something that's like, oh, well, you can't really, you can't really argue against that. And you're like, well, I mean, like, oh, you're white on black. She's Polynesian, she's Asian, whatever, man. We're all women here. Cool, man. You know, but it's like, you break it down to like, oh, well, who's more underrepresented, you know, in the minority group status? Who's going to make that list? That's the list I want to see. When they get to that point, that's the list I want to see. I want to see that pecking order of oppression. And then that will be where like the Blizzard Hunger Games for hiring gets into play here. But they did say here that all while they're going to be eschewing quotas in favor of conferences and forging relationships with organizations such as Girls Who Code. And now here's the thing. I actually do agree with that. I do. And the reason why is because that feels more like they're not trying to, even though this does kind of feel like a weird take on affirmative action, this is kind of not doing that, where they're not taking in random people to fill a quota, or having a preset quota. What they're doing is they're working with these different organizations that might have female coders, or, you know, French Polynesian Minecraft coders or whatever, that are female identifying, polyamorous, trans, wonderkin, coconut, who knows, and then working with them and then going from there through the hiring process. And I'm not entirely against that. I think that's working with people who are legitimately interested in the product or in the job itself, and then drawing from that well, versus kind of just casting a wide net and picking up who might come along. You know, there was a big thing with Mass Effect Andromeda in the development team. Like, their lead facial animation expert was like someone with like just like mocap experience, you know, or someone that had like 6 months of experience on the job and became like the lead facial design animator, but really it was just like a mocap artist, or mocap expert or whatever. And so it's like things like that get kind of like conflated and shit. Anyway, so it's Mike Morhaime does say here, our diversity initiative will require a commitment from every one of us, but especially our leaders, managers, and hiring teams. We appreciate your decision to help Blizzard achieve its goals. This news follows his announcement, or his promise of more diverse heroes and content in Blizzard games earlier this year. He also spoke about diversity and an interesting conversation with someone who I don't give a fuck about. So they're trying. They're trying, and that's fine. They want to try, let them try. Now, whether or not it has any impact, we'll have to wait and see. Now, if they are working with organizations like Girls Who Code, and they're using that as basically a pool to draw potential candidates from, fine. That's fine. They do this all the time. They team up with certain groups. If you get in well with that group, you might get a recommendation to go in for an interview, and it's just cronyism. It makes businesses go around. But it feels like that's where they're trying to kind of pull this thing from, which is one of the reasons why, like, as much as I find it laughable, instead of going off a meritocracy-based system, they're at least doing it in a way that feels like they're trying to get people who legitimately enjoy what they do, versus someone who's like, I know how to program HTML. Can I get a job designing Overwatch, please? Thank you. I cosplay as Diva. Or May, right? Probably more of a May. I saw a lot of Mays at Comic-Con. It was interesting. A lot of divas though. Like, it's anyway. I don't get into that shit. The point is, we'll have to wait to see what happens here. To be fair, I've been ribbing Blizzard quite a bit, but we have to wait to see what happens here. And if they do have the best interest in heart, cool. But I would just, from a personal perspective, rather see these kind of hiring initiatives focus on making a better product, and that includes finding the best candidate and not trying to break it down to one gender or one group, because when you start doing that, you start segmenting people, you start segregating people, and you start judging them based upon either their gender or their region or their nation of origin, which almost kind of feels like a sexist and racist thing, because you're not judging them on what they can do, you're judging them on things they had no control over. Well, that wraps up the video, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and giving it a watch. If you guys would like to support the channel, please give it a thumbs up, comment below, share it around, subscribe, hit the little bell for notifications so you're up to date on all the content this channel releases. If you'd like to help out during the adpocalypse, you can do so with Amazon affiliate links in the beginning of the video. There is Patreon. $1 from everyone would go a really long way right now, as well as also Bitcoin and PayPal. Thank you guys very much. My name is Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day. Peace out.